Hi, I'm Darren Robertson, an expat pom, chef and part owner of the Three Blue Ducks in the Sydney beachside suburb of Bronte. It's the perfect location to indulge my passion for surfing, and I get out amongst it with my mates at any chance I get. I started my career in London under Michelin-starred heavyweight Mark Raffan, then on to Sydney where I cooked for famed chef Tetsuya Bakuda. A few years ago, I started thinking about making a shift towards more sustainable cooking, seasonal, local and fresh. But I've become fascinated with cooking over simple fire or hot coals. Just fresh ingredients, fire and imagination. I just want to see how far I can push that theory and what these simple elements can help me create.
So welcome to my charcoal kitchen. Let's light the fires, stoke the coals and get cooking.
I'm on top of the world, now I'm living, and the good just gets better, keeps on giving. Not even close to the end, it's just beginning. Life is getting lighter while the days are getting brighter, yeah.
Hi guys, welcome to Charcoal Kitchen. This week we're in the Victorian Alpine Resort of Falls Creek. It's my winter home away from the ocean as I swap my surfboard for the good old snowboard. It's dumping with snow, so come on guys, let's get amongst it. Here at Falls Creek, there are no markets, no fishmongers or butchers, so everything is sourced down there at the bottom of the mountain. We have to go down, collect it, and haul it back up. Shopping becomes a real adventure. So this is Gussie and I going shopping.
You ready?
Ready. All right, Gussie, what's on the shopping list?
Let's go have a look.
We're really lucky here at Falls Creek because all the produce is sourced locally, making it incredibly fresh and it tastes amazing. We love it because we get to support local farmers and producers. Every week we get one delivery and we have to make sure we get everything right because we can't just pop down to the shops to replace it.
So after a morning on the snow, we're back at the restaurant. The boys are inside organising tonight's dinner. Meanwhile, I'm outside. I'm going to prep a cheeky little staff meal. I know they're starving, so I better get cracking.
To start, we're going to warm the guys up with a barbecue green chicken and chili pieces. And then for main, a melt-in-your-mouth beef brisket with charred veggies. And to finish, one of my childhood favourites, poached rhubarb and rice pudding.
Right, to start with, I just want to talk a little bit about the barbecues we're going to be using this afternoon. Firstly, this guy, we've dug him out this morning. He was completely buried. This is our more conventional kind of gas guzzler that many of us have in our backyards. Nothing wrong with these at all. Spark them up, light them up, they're ready to go. Great for control, but you don't get that beautiful kind of smoky flavour as much as these guys here. So this is a real kind of traditional fire pit. We use this a lot at Falls Creek for pigs on spits and chickens on the rotisserie, but we've gotten rid of the spit. We've popped some wood and heat beads to get the party started, and we're going to cook some veggies and green chicken on this guy. So we're surrounded by snow, but in fact it's really warm next to these beautiful barbecues. I'm going to grab my mate Francesco out here, who's going to give me a hand, and we're going to get cracking. So first dish, barbecue brisket. Hello, mate. How you going?
Buddy, out here.
Good to see you. This is where the party's at. Good to see you, pal. So this here is Francesco, who is the chef here, one of the chefs at the Gully, and he's a bit of a rock star. So with you here now, this is going to be a piece of cake. So first dish, I'm going to make some barbecue brisket, probably a more traditional recipe on the old barbecue. It's incredibly simple. A lot of people are intimidated by secondary cuts like brisket. It's full of connective tissue and fat, which means long cooking and loads of flavour. So first up, we're going to smash up some roasted cumin seeds. A couple of teaspoons will suffice. So just get them, kind of nice and crushed up. They have been roasted off beforehand in the kitchen by Francesco just to make our life a lot easier. And then also, beautiful, so some roasted coriander seeds. So a couple of teaspoons of those. Next up, we have a teaspoon of smoked paprika. So a teaspoon goes in, some garlic salt. So a good teaspoon of this. You don't have to measure, you know, a chef's teaspoon. So some garlic salt. You could use fresh if you like, but I like to keep this marinade, you know, as dry as possible. Some black pepper, which I'll just do you a bit of a favour by. Actually, you want to grind that in there? So about a teaspoon of black pepper, white you can use if you'd like. Some salt. Again, you know, little teaspoon of that. So next up, one of my favourite things in life, freshly ground coffee. Now this is going to give it a wonderful nutty flavour. So a good teaspoon of this. And straight in. You are doing a grand job there, mate.
Yeah, thank you.
So how was the snow?
Really cold.
Very cold. This will warm you up. Okay, so that's all the spices.
Nice toasted flavour.
So a couple of teaspoons of Dijon mustard. So this will go straight in. If you just want to grab a spoon, Francesco, and just give that a little stir. And then finally, for a little bit of sweetness, some honey. So drizzle of honey, straight in, and that's going to bring it all together. Create this beautiful, smoky, nutty, so a little bit hot paste for our brisket. Have a whiff for that, mate, what do you think?
Yeah, that's good.
That's ready to go. So now I'm just going to coat our brisket here. So I've got a couple of pieces. Secondary cut, incredibly cheap and easy to work with. But this is going to take about 5 hours to cook. I'm going to cook it really slowly. I'm going to coat it in this marinade. Now, if you can't get your hands on brisket, another secondary cut would be fine. Perhaps pork belly would be fantastic for this. Or, what else would be good?
Or flat iron.
Flat iron would be great. Just, you know, something with a bit of, you know, sinew and a bit of fat, just to kind of, you know, cook really, really slowly on the barbecue. So, we'll start coating this. So I'll bring him over. Thank you very much for that, mate.
You're welcome.
You must be freezing over there. I've actually got the luxury of having the hot barbecue.
Sometimes we have to swap the place.
Spread a little bit of our marinade on the base. So coat the brisket in our marinade on both sides. We'll pop him down. Same on the other side. Then spread it over the whole thing. That's it, mate. So that's the hard work done. So you could do that beforehand, and you know that would be great. Actually, kind of marinating overnight. But we're just going to marinate for about the time it takes to swig a last gulp of beer. Cheers. Thanks for your help.
You're welcome.
And for our cooking vessel, we've got here 3 or 4 pieces of tin foil and some grease-proof paper. So wrap him up nice and tight. So that's it. She's nice and tight, ready to be cooked on the barbecue.
Let's go.
So that's it. Pop it in there, leave it for 4.5 to 5 hours. It's as easy as that. So that gives us plenty of time to crack on with our next dish.
Coming up, a main course that will please the crowd.
So next up, green chicken, a super easy dish this, and this really came about at the Ducks. It was just a way to use up lots of stalks. You know, I find I use loads and loads of parsley and coriander. I just kind of 2 of my favourite herbs. So don't throw these away. Use them up for marinades and stocks. You know, we can pickle these, do all sorts. So with this, I'm going to use this marinade for chicken. I mean, it lends itself really well to all poultry and seafood. It's great with snapper, with scallops. We're going to use chicken today, but spatchcock would be great, or some quail would be nice. And all of that stuff is really easy to barbecue. So first up, I'm just going to make our life a bit easier. So I have here some coriander stalks. So I'm just going to get Francesco.
Well, that's my job.
To do some, and just to smash these up. So I'll pop these into our pestle and mortar. To make it a bit easier, a good pinch of salt. So a teaspoon of salt, and then we'll start to smash those guys up. So next up, we'll take some parsley stalks. So a handful of parsley stalks. Straight in. So loads of flavour with parsley stalks, but also, as importantly, that beautiful sort of vibrant green colour that's going to give this chicken. With a bit of spice, some black pepper, straight in there. For some extra heat, some large red chilli. So a few slices of this. I think we'll go seeds and skin. Chop it on the board. And then straight in. Okay, for a bit of warmth, some grated ginger, which I'll make your life a bit easier. I'll grate this onto the board. So this will give it that beautiful kind of sort of spice, and also it's really good for you. Like it's great when you're out in the snow and the boys are snowboarding all day to actually get some nutrients inside them. And this is just going to make sure none of us go down with the flu like last year. A little bit of garlic, what do you reckon, mate? Good?
Just garlic, yeah.
A little bit of garlic, I reckon a clove will suffice. So again, onto the board. Now you don't have to, use a board and a pestle and mortar, it's pretty old school. I do quite like being out here with friends, but obviously, you could use this in the kitchen, and a little KitchenAid or a bar mix would be fine. So garlic in, and if you keep smashing, brother, just keep going. To season that, a little bit of soy. Touch of soy, and then for a bit of citrus, my favourite, some freshly grated lime. So that's almost there. You can go, keep going for a few more minutes and have it beautiful and smooth, but it's freezing cold out here, so we'll keep it fairly coarse. We're going to bring that together with some grapeseed oil. Vegetable oil, is fine, just a neutral oil. You can have a taste if you like, but I know that's going to be...
Yeah, it's very good.
It's going to be fantastic.
Oh.
And that's it. So there's our marinade prepared. So now we're going to take this out, coat our chicken, put the chicken straight into on our barbecue. So do you want to do that?
Yeah.
So scoop him straight onto our chicken. Give it a little mix up. And don't be afraid to get in there and really kind of massage that into the chicken there. Hands are clean, the chicken's beautiful, fresh and cold. And again, as always, if you want to do this the night before or a couple of hours before, all the better for it. But we're not going to bother. We're just going to pop him as is, straight onto the barbecue. So these logs have now been burning for about 3 or 4 hours. So this is exactly what you're looking for. You've kind of they're hot enough to actually break down with the tongs, and that's absolutely perfect. I've just put a log either side and a grill over just to hold that off the coals themselves, otherwise it's a little bit too aggressive. So chicken's going to go on, and skin side down. And then we're just going to char him up and turn it over. Make sure you scrape out all the marinade and coat the last of the chicken. So they're fairly small, they're not going to take that much time to cook. I reckon they're going to take about 20, 25 minutes, maybe half an hour to the thighs. We've cut them into 8 or 9 pieces, but if you like, you can keep it even simpler and just crack the bird in half and cook it that way. Take a bit of care, you want to give it a little bit of colour, especially the skin. Ideally you want to crispen up the skin, take on that beautiful charred, smoky notes, have the breast meat and the thigh meat, beautiful, juicy and succulent. We're going to take it off, pop it into a nice big bowl, middle of the table, dress it with a little bit of lime juice, and that'll be dinner. All right, now for a very tasty little veg dish that is super easy to do. I'm going to use a whole array of vegetables. We have beetroot and some butternut squash, parsnip, carrots, Spanish onions, a little bit of garlic. So to cook our veg over the hot coals, we're going to use this little contraption. So it's just a wire mesh. So it opens up. We're going to place our vegetables, well, Francesco is going to kindly place our vegetables just evenly distributed over our wire rack. We're going to dress it with olive oil and a little bit of balsamic onto our hot coals, and then cook that for about 15-20 minutes. So mate, if I can get you to do the veg, so if you lay that out there, and while Francesco's arranging our vegetables, I'm going to make a little dressing for this dish. So very, very simple this. So I'm going to take some olive oil, so a couple of tablespoons, 2 or 3. For some acid and sweetness, some balsamic vinegar. Then I'm going to season this with a pinch of salt. So salt straight in. Good pinch of pepper. So pepper goes in. And then I'm going to flavour this with some licorice. So, you know, use whatever the spice or herb you like. But I really like licorice and beetroot and orange go really well. And there's a lot of beetroot in this dish and carrots. So yeah, we use this a lot in the duck, you know, with venison dishes, and it's a great sort of winter warming spice. We'll go a good pinch of our licorice root. So we're going to pop that onto our barbecue. So it's, you know, it's pretty hot, so it's going to colour fairly quickly. Take him over, and then once it's on the hot coals, we're going to dress him with that olive oil, balsamic, licorice vinegar. And there we go. They're going to take a good 15-20 minutes. We'll turn them occasionally, take them out into a bowl, and they're going to go beautifully with our Bbq Brisket.
Still to come, one of my favourite dishes.
Right, so for dessert, we're going to serve poached rhubarb with rice pudding, a very, very easy dish to do, even on the barbecue. So first up, we have arborio rice. So we're going to go 1 cup straight in to the pan. So you can use pudding rice. I really like arborio, great flavour, loads of starch. It's going to come out as we stir it. Traditionally used for risotto, and you could actually make this like a risotto. If you've got the time, you could roast that rice off in some butter and vanilla, and then cook it out slowly, add in your milk, and you'd have a beautiful dessert. It'd be a lot creamier. We're not going to do that. It's kind of staff meal. It's pretty sort of casual, so it isn't too fancy. So cup of rice in, and then here I have 2 cups of full cream milk, because it's just boiled up to the boil. To flavour that, you can have whatever you like. Traditionally sort of vanilla beans, nice. I have some lemon verbena, which is dry, which has got it's beautiful kind of citrusy notes, which will flavour our milk. The milk's just come up to the boil. I'm going to tip the whole thing into the rice, give it a little stir, and then just let that cook for about 30 to 40 minutes. So in goes our milk, and that's about 2 cups of milk there. Now finally, to sweeten it, we have some brown sugar here. So a couple of dessert spoons. So give it a gentle stir, try not to let it catch. We'll just sort of come back to this every couple of minutes and see how it's going, but don't go too crazy with the sugar. If you want, leave it out and add honey, but you don't want it too sweet. You can always add a little bit later on. So that's it. So milk, rice, a little bit of sugar, some lemon verbena, 40 minutes cooking, done. So if you give it a little cheeky stir, I'll go get some more beers.
Yeah, more beers.
All right, the last thing we have to do is gently poach some rhubarb. So for this, I'm not going to mess around with this at all, just the rhubarb itself, a touch of brown sugar, a little bit of water. We're going to wrap this up in foil and slowly poach it over the hot coals. So I still want it to keep its shape. I want it to have a little bit of bite, some of that beautiful sort of tartness, and keep it really, really fresh. Now, I'm just going to need a couple of sheets, so maybe 1 sheet of foil down on the board. A little bit of paper, so pop that down. If you can just stop that blowing away and just roll him up. So rhubarb, you can peel this if you like, it's still fairly young, so I'm just actually going to leave it intact as well. So cut this into battens, so just take a sharp knife. I'm just going to cut it at that sort of size. Okay, now if some of these are slightly older, like this one here, it's a darker red, it's slightly thicker, and there is a tendency for it to be a little bit woody. Just peel off maybe one side, but put that in. It's got some fantastic colour. So I think that's probably enough battens. So if you want to just lay those out, mate. And again, you could spice this up if you like. Heaps of maybe some dry orange peel or lemon peel, some grapefruit juice instead of water would be nice.
Cardamom.
Cardamon's cool. Yeah. Bay leaves are lovely. Some lemon thyme. So we're just going to take some of this brown sugar and just a little sprinkling of brown sugar. So some of that on top. And then a touch of water just to help it along. What's going to happen is when it cooks, it will steam and it's going to create this beautiful sort of natural rhubarb syrup, which we'll also use for our rice pudding. So if you just want to kind of cover that up, mate. So try and bring the edges up so you're not going to lose any of that beautiful natural cooking liquor or the syrup. So there's our little package. We'll pop that onto a kind of medium barbecue, or if you're going to bake this in an oven, about 120 degrees. 7 to 10 minutes. Keep your eye on it. Then we're going to take this out and just let it cook naturally and gently in the residual heat. If we cook it aggressively, it's going to go a lot mushy. We'll lose its texture. So on a barbecue, you give that 6 or 7 minutes. It should puff up slightly. We'll take him off and let that cook naturally. So that's had 40 minutes cooking now, and there we have it. So I've just let that down with a touch of milk. We'll taste it for sweetness. Do you want to taste it?
Yes, please.
I'm not going to feed you. So, you know, you can always add a little bit. A pinch of salt will be nice, or some more sugar.
So good.
So that's it. So that's rice pudding, you know, flavoured with lemon myrtle. But for me, growing up, that was our go-to dessert. You know, be it from a can with a little bit of jam, but it was still absolutely, you know, that was amazing. So loads of options with this. You know, you could serve it with poached winter fruits, maybe some summer berries, but that's going to go great with our poached rhubarb. So back in the restaurant, it's lovely and warm in here. Bit of hustle and bustle, the guys are just setting up for service. So time for staff dinner. I'm going to start plating up for them, and then they're going to come and join me and get stuck in. So first up, the chicken. I can smell that beautiful sort of coriander and the parsley and the garlic and the ginger. And this is a kind of optional extra, but I'm going to take some of this fat, which has got loads of flavour, and just kind of coat our chicken. And then finally, a pinch of salt. And of course, a little squeeze of lime. Right, so veggies are cooked, and they're beautiful and sweet. Aren't you, stunning? So some of them are kind of charred around the edges, and that's kind of what you want. Like, you want it to be like burnt and caramelised and sort of exciting, not dull and boring and boiled. So I'm just going to give these a touch more salt. And then straight into a bowl. So just grab a little bowl and give them a good mix. Makes just so, you know, when the guys help themselves, they're getting the kind of a decent spoon of everything. Cool, you can pop some herbs on there if you like, but I'm not going to bother. What I am going to do is I'm going to season these with the remaining dressing, our little balsamic licorice vinaigrette. So a bit of that on top. And that's going to kind of drizzle down, dress all those beautiful charred veggies. And that's it. To go with that, this little guy here. So this is the main event really. This beautiful barbecue brisket. Look at the colour of that. So that's had a good 5 hours on the barbie, or you know, if in the oven if you like. And this would be fantastic for, you know, to go in sandwiches with sort of, you know, beautiful hot slaw. So I'm just going to peel him off on our board. So it's kind of beautiful, juicy, sweet and succulent. I'm just going to carve a couple of pieces just so you can kind of see. So wonderful crust on the outside, and there's that really juicy, succulent meat on the inside. That's just going to kind of melt in the mouth. You can just pull it apart. And that's it. So you can't really beat that. So there's our main course. There's our charred veggies and our barbecue brisket. We're going to love that. So lastly, dessert. So our beautiful warm rice pudding with our poached rhubarb. So you can serve it cold if you like, but it's freezing cold outside, so a nice hot dessert to finish our meal. And I'll just go crazy. I'm going to individually plate this, but you know, you could serve it. You can serve it in the pan if you like. And now our rhubarb, which is still warm from the barbecue. So we just took it off and let that cook down with the residual heat. And you can see now, hopefully, and that's all right. So that's cooked on a bit. It's kept its colour, it's kept its shape, but most importantly, we've got this beautiful kind of sweet rhubarb syrup So we'll use that, so a couple of pieces on each of our rice pudding, and then just collect that beautiful rhubarb syrup, and then just finish that a little bit on top. So that's it, there's dessert. Now, I'm super hungry and I know the boys are too. I'm gonna go and get them and it's time to tuck in.
Cheers. Cheers. Nice, well done.